A night that shots rang out, leaving 1 dead, 3 injured, 2 severely. It ruined many lives, but the killer was still out there. Or were they? Um, Welcome to my channel. My name's Sean. This is true crime, murder, mystery, mayhem, myths, whatever. I've got a new setup, and I think I worked out the mic problem, so it shouldn't be as tingy as it was before. So thank you for tuning in. If you're new here, please check out some of my other videos after this one. I am trying to get back to doing all the videos on Monday, so I've feverishly been working on scripts for these since I do everything on a script. So I'm going to record this one, and this should be Friday morning, and this following Monday I'm going to release another one. So, and then it's going to be every Monday after that, I'm hoping. So on with our true crime for the day. Diane Downs was born August 7th, 1955 in Arizona. It appeared to be a normal childhood for her, but behind closed doors was a different story. She was sexually abused by the man who should have been protecting her, her father. In high school, she started to date a bunch of different people, and one was Steve Downs. But after school, they parted different ways. She went off to college in California at the Pacific Coast Baptist Bible College, and he went into the Navy. She only lasted at this school for about a year, and then she was expelled for being too promiscuous. But fortune shined on her. As she returned home, she was reunited with Stephen, who had gotten out of the Navy, and they ended up getting married in 1973. Their marriage was a rocky one at the start. I mean, it started off rocky, and it just didn't get any better than that. They argued frequently over finances and possible infidelities. But rather than end the marriage, they decided to bring 3 children into the mix. Christy was born in 1974, Cheryl was born in 1976, and Stephen Danny was born in 1979. I'm going to call him Danny from the rest of the time because that's he didn't use the Stephen part, but that was his birth name. With all the issues of infidelity, Stephen Sr. was convinced that Danny was not his child, and it led to their divorce in 1980. After the divorce, Diane tried to become a surrogate, but failed her psychiatric test twice, but that didn't stop her. I found 2 different articles stating that she had given birth to a baby girl May 8th, 1982, and named her Jennifer. It was just a one-line thing in each of these articles, and I could not find any other evidence after the fact. But I think it was just a surrogate that she did it for someone else, and I think that's the reason. But technically, she gave birth to a 4th child. She started to neglect her kids, the 3 that were with her. She would leave them with her parents or with Stephen at a moment's notice just to seek attention from other men. She was never at home. She was just always running around. whenever her kids went to these places, they were really unkept and malnourished. And there were times that she would leave Christy in charge. And, this was 82, so Christy was about 8 years old, you know. So she would leave her 7, 8-year-old in charge of the other two siblings. In 1981, she soon met a man of her dreams, Robert Knickerbocker, and engaged into an affair with him to sweep her troubles away. But Robert was married, and he thought that she had too many strings to ruin his marriage over. So he had no interest of being a daddy, and he ended the affair. This enraged Diane, and in April of 1983, she moved to Springfield, Oregon, and started working there as a postal carrier. A month later is when, in May 19th of 1983, Diane entered an emergency room in Springfield, Oregon, bleeding from the arm, advising that her kids were shot, her children were in the back seat, and the car was covered in blood. When the paramedics got out there, they noticed that Cheryl had already passed away. That was the middle child. But the other two had life-threatening injuries, so they went to work on them right away. Danny was paralyzed from the waist down as one of the bullets had severed his spinal column. Christy suffered a stroke and it impaired her speech. Diane gave the statement that she was leaving a friend's house late at night and that a shaggy-haired man flagged her down on a dirt road. And then she said that he demanded the car, but she refused. This is when he shot her and the kids. Her wound was not life-threatening, it was just in the arm. She started giving media interviews, and she kept giving different details that lessened the legitimacy of the story. One such detail was that she was taking her kids sightseeing in the dark instead of coming home from a friend's. Hospital staff and police also found it to be suspicious because Diane's manner was too calm for a person who just experienced what she experienced. Forensic evidence found that there was no blood splatter on the driver's side of the car where she said that she was shot. The police started to investigate her. They located a journal of Diane's that explained how her affair with Knickerbocker ended, and she said it's because of the kids, and that if she didn't have kids, she should be able to get him back. Well, they contacted Knickerbocker, and he, told the police that she had been stalking him, and in the correspondence from her, it really seemed like she was willing to even kill his wife, which was kind of freaking him out. He told the police that she owned a .22 caliber handgun, and her first husband, Stephen, confirmed this as well. Then a witness came forward the night of the incident. They witnessed her driving very slowly toward the hospital, like driving less than 10 miles an hour, even though she had told the police that she drove at a high rate of speed to get to the hospital as quick as possible to save her kids. But the witness, said no, she was just strolling along really quick. So they assumed that she drove slow, trying to hope that the kids would bleed out and be dead by the time they got to the hospital. Well, the police figured they had enough to go on. So Diane was arrested on February 28th, 1984. She was charged with 1 count of murder and 2 counts of attempted murder and criminal assault. Prior to her arrest, though, she had already become pregnant with her 5th child. Her trial started on May of 1984. Her parents testified that Cheryl told a neighbor, Cheryl's the child that died, that she told a neighbor that she was afraid of her mom. A psychiatrist had done an evaluation on Diane and diagnosed her with narcissistic personality disorder, uh, his histonic personality disorder, and antisocial personality disorder. And he actually labeled her a deviant sociopath. I can't talk today. She continued to stick with the shaggy-haired man story, even though, you know, a key witness came forward to testify. Her oldest daughter, Christy, took the stand against her mother. She had had months of physical and mental therapy to make her strong enough to testify. She had regained her speech, and when prosecutors asked her who shot her and her siblings, she responded with, "My mom. My mom shot us." That was strong testimony. And prior to her sentencing, she gave birth on June 17th, 1984 to a baby girl, and she named it Amy, sorry. The baby was taken by the state and given to adoptive parents. They renamed her Rebecca or Becky. Diane was convicted and sentenced to life in prison plus 50 years. She was to serve 25 years before she is even going to be considered for parole. And the judge made it clear during court that he never intended her to be free again. She was incarcerated at the Oregon Women's Correctional Center. And 3 years later, into her sentence, she escaped by scaling a razor wire fence. She was free for 10 days despite a 14 state manhunt. I guess one last glimpse of freedom. So in 1994, she is transferred to the California prison and then relocated again in 2010. In 2008, she applied for parole, and she still, to that day, maintained her innocence. By that time, she had said that the real killer was a bushy-haired stranger. She had said that they were 2 men in ski masks. Then she said that they were drug dealers. And she also said that they were corrupt cops. She was denied parole. Her next one was scheduled for 2020, but that one has also been denied. It kind of looks like the judge is getting his wish for her never leaving prison. Her surviving children went on to live good lives. Christy and Danny went to live with the lead prosecutor's family, Fred Hugie, and his wife. They weren't able to have any children, so they adopted the kids, and that was in 1986. There is no mention on why they went to him instead of their father, which is kind of odd to me, but Who knows? Maybe he didn't want them. So that's definitely a possibility. Uh, Christy was left with a speech impediment, and that didn't really stop her. She attended college, the University of Oregon, and she got married and had children. Her first baby was born in 2005 and was a boy. Her next one was a girl, and she decided to name it Cheryl after her deceased sister. She has not maintained any form of communication with Diane. Danny was paralyzed from the waist down, but he's kept a low profile. But he does do work with computers. Other than that, he's kept his life really private, so I couldn't find anything on him either. Now, the surrogate child named Becky, she lived with her parents, and once she was a teen, she found out who her biological mother was. After finding this out, her life really plummeted. It just went downhill. And by the age of 17, she gave birth to a boy. She became homeless and eventually figured out that she could not raise children like this. She had given up her second child for adoption and went into a deep depression because of it. This ended up making her reach out to Diane to see if she felt that way after giving her up. And they began writing letters back and forth. It soon became evident of Diane's true colors, and Becky eventually cut off communications. She realized that she was not the same person as her mother, and she got closure from that and started to rebuild her life. She went on Oprah, 2020, all the talk show gambits, and talked about her feelings toward Diane. She states that she regrets ever trying to get into contact with her and stated that Diane was nothing but a monster. And like I said, no idea about that other child, the fifth child. I can't imagine what these children went through, and I call them children, but Christy's only 2 years younger than me, so I mean, she's 49 years old right now. But I hope that they have found peace. I've always said, mental illness and things like that, but to try to kill your own kids, and I mean, I know that there are people out there, or were people out there, that have killed their children. And it's sad. I don't know. It's one of those subjects that it hurts a lot to think about for me. And what's bad is a lot of these killers that I talk about do horrible things, killing children. And I guess that's part of the true crime and doing true crime. So I just hope that Danny, Christy, and Becky all have some peace in their life and are doing good, being in a different place than their mother. So, and I really hope Diane rots in jail, because, if you can't admit to what you've done wrong, if you're calling your child who says, my mom shot me, a liar, you can't say, yeah, I did it. You know, it's been 40 years. You'd think that eventually they'd be able to say, hey, yeah, I did that. Here's what type of mood I was in at that time, and I'm sorry, you know, I've grown, I've learned. But obviously she hasn't learned. So prison is probably a good place for her. Oh well, before I drone on and on and on, I will let you go for now. Thank you for tuning in. Please come back next time. Like I said, my next one should be Monday, and it's a good one. I'm trying to be more topical. I'm trying to be more current. Well, this one's not current, but I'm trying to be different than some of the other true crime out there that does name brand killers. I'm trying to do the ones you don't hear about. So stay tuned next week. And until then, peace. Love y'all. Thank you for watching, and like and subscribe. Thank you.